Hello there. Hopefully you can all hear me. My name's James Carroll. I'm the director at Evil Twin Artworks, and today I'm going to be showing you some of Victory at Sea. Welcome to our first Twitch stream showing off, well, specifically Victory at Sea Pacific. Really been desperate to show people this game. It's been quite a labour of love to get this going. Essentially, what I wanted to do tonight was just to start to introduce you to it. Bear in mind, this is not the. I'm not going to show you everything tonight, but it's you know, just start to show you some things. And as I said, we'll be doing some more streams as we go. Oh, hiya, Pegasus. Yeah, it's going good, thanks. Yeah, we've been hard at work on the whole thing, working on the project. I did do the tutorial for the first Victory at Sea. Yeah, that was quite a long time ago. We've been working we're working hard on some new videos for extra video tutorials and things like that. But for now, it's yeah, just showing you some of it. I've actually jumped the tutorial specifically at the moment, so we're literally into the main campaign at the moment, where you can you've got different toggles. So that's the captured territories at the state of at the start of the campaign after the tutorial, because during the tutorial things do actually happen, obviously. But it's not really a spoiler to say, you know, where things happened up to the end of December 1941 and what territories were being captured, that sort of thing. So that kind of leads you in. A little disclaimer just before we start properly, and that's to say that this isn't you know, a pre-release build, so sometimes the odd bug will come in, and the odd bit of weirdness, which we're obviously tidying up as we go. And there are some holding ships in the game. So right now there's the Pennsylvania and I think the Tennessee are holding ships. In fact, I'll just show you quickly. If I click on the fleet screen, and you can see there where it says the USS Pennsylvania and the Tennessee, basically we've got the icons upside down to remind us to put the right ships in, because we've put them in as temporary ones. So we're still early days with those sort of things. We've got quite a lot of you know, fleets going around the area, and you know, so there's a lot going on in the game. What I think would be useful to show you is the map. Basically, you've got all the territories here. So as of this first campaign, we've got basically you know, your Allied forces. You know, you've got Australia down here, obviously New Zealand. You've got Fiji, and basically you've got Anzac forces, Royal Navy, moving about the ports, the sea as well. You've got the Japanese up here that are obviously been sweeping along, and right now we don't know where they are. I've also paused the game at the moment so that we've got a chance to have a quick look at this. There's the Aleutians up there. So these are obviously, this is all controlled by the Americans at the start of play. You've got the Ellis Islands and the Solomons that are up for grabs at the moment. As we've been discussing, if you've been on the Steam forums, we've been talking to everybody about other fleets and other ships that might come into the game in future updates. And as I said, I can confirm that we have actually been building ships based on some of those suggestions. So we have already started doing that. I have seen a Richelieu. We've got some Dutch ships coming in as well. So and that's not the end of it. There are other ships and fleets coming in. So should be interesting. But right now, what we've got, we've basically got it down to these territories. The trick is with this game as well that it's trying to start the game without it being too overwhelming, essentially. So just to let you know, we've got all our task forces here. So you've got lots of different fleets and task forces, lots of ports. These ones are abstractions. This San Diego, Mare Island and Puget Sound, they're the abstracted, obviously, version of the US mainland. Obviously that's not there, but it's just there just to give you a sense of where ships are coming from, because we wanted to, you know, be able to build ships that are coming out from the US mainland into the Pacific Ocean. So right now, what I think I'll do is just start the game, have a look. So what we've got up here is the war progress bar. As you start to gain XP and experience, like actually travel, you know, in time through the game, things start to unlock up here. The war bonds obviously help you pay for different items, but the XP will unlock ships. It'll also start to develop the bomb, that sort of thing as well. So there's kind of key moments in history that unlock as this progress bar moves along. On the left there you've got fleet screen, the fleet bars, as I said. These are coastal defences, so these are your PT boats. They've obviously got a shorter range. As you can see already, I've got 2 destroyers down here coming in to cause some problems. Spoiler alert, there are some things obviously still around Pearl Harbor, so I'm going to be cautious what I do there. Of the ports I've got under control, there's Midway, Pearl Harbor, Noumea, and then you've got the Aleutians, Atukiska, Adak, Komandolski, and Alaska. You've got Johnson Atoll, and as I said, San Diego, that sort of thing. These are the supply priorities here, so if you want to start moving supply chains along, if you can see here I've got cargo fleets being moving about the ocean. I can click on a port, and down here I can change the priority. So if I want to start moving resources up to Johnson, I can change that to high, and that will increase the amount of cargo ships inbound. I can also upgrade my ports. At the moment this is a minor port. Pearl obviously has got a shipyard already and is a major port. These are obviously major ports as well, and each shipyard has got different things that it can actually build as well. So, you know, obviously Pearl's not got quite, you know, the major ports in America are able to build a lot more ships at once, because that obviously abstracts and reflects the sheer industrial power that was coming out of there at the time. So what I'm going to do is have a look here at the fleets. I can zoom in onto the bridge map, and as you can see, Task Force 1 at the moment I've set up. We've got the 3 battleships in Pennsylvania, Maryland and Tennessee, and I've got some destroyers here. And what I'm going to do is select these. I'll press shift and select them, and I can break them off into a separate squadron. So you can change the formations as well here, and you can get more into detail with that later on. But right now what I'm going to do is select this squadron and actually pull it into the ocean, and what it's done, as it says there, is formed a new task force, a new fleet. So I'm going to get this destroyer fleet and I'm going to start to move it out here. Now here is the radial button, and this changes depending on what ships you've got, what you can actually do, because obviously you can't merge fleets if they're not there. That's attack, move, you can defend ports, you can refuel, so you could actually select a ship if you, because obviously fuels are important. So if suddenly if there's a need to refuel, you can actually exchange fuel. You can repair and resupply at ports, raid, that sort of thing. But for now, I'm just gonna move them out here. In fact, no, I'm not. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press right click and use patrol, and I'm going to hold shift and set a patrol area. So I just keep adding in orders. So that destroyer fleet now will go and patrol that area there. Up here you can see quickly all the fleets and all the orders they got. So right now the only one I've ordered is the patrol one because I've been talking too much. This battle fleet here is really badly damaged. So if I click on this, click on Pearl and right click on it, I'm actually going to tell them to repair and resupply. So they're going to go, if you look over here in the orders, they're going to go and actually go back in a Pearl and actually do some repairs. And I'll show you in a minute more on that. So I've got a squadron here, Able Squadron, sat out in the ocean. Now, this is the thing about the game, obviously, is that you can't just start making up as you go along as well. There are some pointers to help you. So as well as the ports, the next thing along here is the objectives, and you've got your current objectives, which is your immediate goals. These will help you inform you how to move forwards. I mean, obviously you can actually ignore that to some degree and actually do your own thing. I tend to find it's quite good to actually at least try and get the follow the current objectives, because it helps my brain and it also helps in terms of the overall strategy of things. But here's your overall campaign objectives. So these are the territories I've got to capture. Now these can change as well depending on how quickly and how well the Japanese attack, because they obviously are moving in and we can't see them at the moment. And if I start to lose territories, that can actually affect how what I actually have to do. In fact, what I'll do as well, I'll just quickly show you. There's the supply convoys. So those are my current supply convoys, and they'll be heading in certain directions. So it will tell you if you scroll over what they're doing as well. So they are convoy jigs delivering at Pearl Harbor. And it tells me the disposition of what I've got of each one. And this is my war bonds menu. It tells me how many war bonds I've got, my income for the ports, and tells me how many supply fleets I've got, because you get to build ships as well as supply fleets as well. Like I said, part of the problem with this game when we first started was how to make it so it isn't overwhelming, and hopefully, as you'll see over the next few live streams, that it's all it's quite manageable, and it's quite nice to be able to slow things right down to a crawl. So let's just go through these, start giving these some orders. So I've resupplied with these guys. I've given these guys a patrol order. They start moving fleets out into the ocean. I'm going to right click and tell them to actually start moving over to Midway. So I've ordered them to resupply to Midway. These destroyers are already in Midway, so I'm going to attack this fleet that's been spotted here. The good thing is that Midway's got quite a good set of planes and things as well. You've got so if I click on the port here, I've got anti-sub bombers, dive bombers, devastator torpedo bombers, and so they'll start to come out as well. So it could be, for such a small fleet, there's a chance that by the time I get there with my destroyers, they may be taken out, but that might be wishful thinking, because it never quite plays exactly the same every time you play this game it will be slightly different, so you can't get complacent. You can't think, oh, this is going to happen this way, or this fleet is going to come down here, because it's ever so slightly different every time, because obviously the Japanese are reacting to what you're doing as well as their overall campaign objectives, which are obviously to try and force an American surrender by cutting off supply lines, amongst other things. So anyway, yeah, back to this. Task Force 12. So we've got the Lexington, the Chicago, the Portland, and then Porter. In fact, what have we got here? I've got Able Squadron. What I like to do is sometimes create my own fleets. Obviously, I get to decide how I do it. So I'm going to right-click and select Merge Fleets. So that fleet will now start to chase and merge that one, and I'm going to tell this fleet to resupply. So while that's moving along there, this task force is actually going to catch up and merge with them. Right, here's my big fleet. So I've got the raid. We're currently working into the raid and amphibious assaults, because they changed slightly the way the carriers work. Only just to because at the moment the carriers, once I order the raid, they'll start launching planes towards Makin Atoll, whereas the next update that we're doing, it will actually say, do you want to launch planes at this point? So you get to decide, because it was starting to annoy me that I get to Makin and all my planes are out, because part of the fun with this is actually going into that carrier and actually dictating what planes are attacking what targets. I should reach out to the mighty jingles as I get closer to release. Okay, I don't know that one. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, you can do. Yeah. So in terms of selecting a fleet and zooming in to see it real time, if I actually click on, there's my fleet and it's going there. If I press the map, press M, and there's my fleet there, and that will actually be moving real time as well. So I can change the speed up. So if I do it times 25 speed, they'll start to get into formation, and it will all be moving in a circle formation towards Makin. But we're at such a distance right now, this is where the bridge comes in handy. Oh, in fact, we've got they're about to engage Task Force 4. But yeah, so the bridge I can actually do times 25 speed, which is useful. Yeah, I'm definitely Jive. I think I've got Jive Turkey down as one of the people. I'll definitely have to look at that and the mighty jingles. So if I go for this one, Task Force 4 has engaged the enemy near midway. I can view on the map, and if I press continue, it will just carry on and it will resolve itself. Or if I press go, it will go into a combat situation. Let's have a look. Let's just go there first, so you'll be able to see the next step. As I said, bear with us sometimes if it does go a bit weird. We are currently working on fixes and tweaks. So at the moment, here we go. This is the start of the battle. So if I zoom in a bit, my scroll wheel's a bit going a bit funny at the moment. So I can zoom right in, and there's my destroyer fleet. Now I'd rather not have them started in a circle formation, so I can click the line formation, or I can put them in a column. The other thing I can do, which I might do just because for the hell of it, is split them into two squadrons. So I'll set this one, not in a circle because obviously it's a bit rubbish, a circle of two, but there you go. And I'll put them in a line there. I'll get these guys and I'll put them over here. If I, so you can literally click around like this. I can also click on the rotation and face them in a different direction. Again, this is a bit overkill for such a small skirmish, really. I mean, you'll really see the power of this when you can, when you see, you know, you've got multiple squadrons with carriers in circle formations and battleships that you want in a line, or, you know, destroyers in front that you want to use as a screen. That's when it really comes into its own. But yeah, so once you're happy with the way you want your fleets to start, press Start Battle, and they're right over there. So it gives you a chance to actually, you know, get yourself into position. So, oh, in fact, what I do, I'm pressing the wrong one. If I click on the top squadron there and press move, that one, in fact, so it moves constantly in one direction. We'll go over to these guys and we'll put them over here. Now, there's a reason I've done this. There's two ways to fight. If I want my fleet, my squadrons, to just you know, fire at will, do what they would do, you know, just if you say, for instance, you've got a mix of destroyers, cruisers, battleships, if I right click and attack, when they get into certain ranges, they'll make a decision as the best way to actually attack that enemy. And so, you know, the battleships will start firing earlier, the destroyers might be moving in, you know, those sort of things. However, if I want to keep them all nice and disciplined and move, I'll tell them to move in a direction, and they'll keep moving in the line formation, and they'll start firing as they go. So if I do times 25 speed now to move them in, and again, I may have built this up a bit, because obviously if you see here, I've got dive bombers coming in, things like that from Midway. Here's Midway, or in fact I'll slow it down quickly. So Midway here, and their airfield has already started launching things in its defence. And I'll speed it back up. So these destroyers might be a moot point, but let's zoom in on them. And as you can see, already they're taking a hit from the squadron. This thing getting caught out like this. There was some subs around Pearl, I think, historically, that were hanging around. We obviously wanted to give you a few little things to as well that are not always historically accurate at the beginning, just so you've got some practice and target practice and try some different things out. So I'll put it back up to 25 times speed. We'll see if they actually can. There we go. Slow it down. They are not going to quite. I think we lost one of the ships, but it's going to. Oh, see if we can. No, it's alright. Okay. So what I can do is that I can let them fire now in the formation. Or right click. I've got select all guns. If it was heavy guns, there'd be light guns as well. You know, if there's a variation. Fire torpedoes. Select my anti-sub weapons from here, but if I select all guns, it will stop firing and let me make the decisions, basically. So this is where it kind of it's part RTS, where you can actually let the planes do it, the ships do their thing. Wait for it to come back in. The red's denoting that they're still reloading. There we go. So let's try that. Lead in. Here comes my gunfire. Ah, no! That's the thing, see, sometimes you want to be clever. Oh, no! So what you can also do is I could get this one to withdraw. So I'll turn, if he'll survive it. No, oh, he's sunk. But he had broken formation. So he would have moved away. Now in this game, they don't retreat unless you tell them to. And in fact, in that volley, while I'm looking at that, they've sunk the last of the little destroyers that was there. So it's just slowly starting to sink down here. Is it hard? Is that what I'll do then? Actually, tell you what. Let's go to the options, and I'll crank that down a bit. I was getting too engrossed in it then. So yeah, that was a successful battle. unfortunately I lost a destroyer because I wasn't really concentrating on what I was doing. I was too busy talking, although it sounds like you couldn't hear me. Thanks, Jody. Yeah, no, it is. It is a big step up from the original game. It's there's so much more controllability. It's still what we wanted to do is try and get a sense of what the original we loved from the original game, and what needed to be fixed from it. One of the things we wanted to do was try and get away from the point, and I'm just turning it to. Oh, hang on a sec. I've got a San Diego. We wanted to get it to a point where there was no. I'm just going to move this fleet here. Where you didn't feel like you had to just sit there and watch it. That you could actually dictate what was going on. In fact, what I'm going to do here, I've selected Task Force 8, and because I know historically there's some destroyers there, I am going to select this, create a new task force out of these destroyers. Sorry, not destroyers, subs. And I'm going to move them out here, see if I can find the subs, because I know there are some things at the beginning. Oh, here we go. Enemy vessels spotted in the North Pacific. Now, one thing you can do at this point as well is slow down. It's obviously paused at this point, but you can unpause it, that sort of thing. So right now what I've done is I've slowed it down to 0. So there's the combat, and I've got 4 subs versus 4 destroyers. So if I view it on map, we'll continue. There we go. Task Force 14 has encountered enemy subs in the North Pacific. So if I press go, there we go. And again, so we've got enemy subs, that's the arrows at the top here. I've got my destroyer fleet here. Right, what I'm going to do, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep them in a line. I'm going to try and screen, go over here, and if you press move to, that moves to that location. If you press turn, it goes in a certain direction basically. So if you notice, what happened there was that the red markers disappeared. Oh, and then they've just come up. This is basically the sub detection. So there's basically different dive states for the subs. So you can dive, and you can also deep dive as well. What that means is that if you've got sub hunters, you can build up experience as well. So if you've got destroyers that start to build up an experience in the game, you can give them traits. So they might be that they're more skilled at they'd be more skilled at actually detecting subs that are really deep dive, that sort of thing. More chance of doing that. Actually, how much is the maximum that you can send into battle? I honestly don't know. I've had some enormous battles, so it's a case of with battleships. In one squadron, I had a carrier squadron. I had some destroyers screen it, and the enemy had a massive task force coming at me with battle cruisers, 2 or 3 carriers, that sort of thing. So it's we've not really set any hard limits. So it's one of those things. It's what you can manage, really. I tend to put them into manageable task forces. So I'll put this back at times 25 speed, and we'll start to move towards the subs. Wait for it. It gets a bit cat and mouse with the subs, obviously. There we go. Right, yeah. And if you notice that red icon, I'll just slow it down to 0. That red icon that's flashing means that they've picked up on a sub. Right, so if I select the McCall, I'm actually just going to tell him to go and attack that one. So over here it says, it's basically I've broken formation with that one. The rest of the fleet will carry on, going straight ahead. And if I start to speed up, basically what I'll do, here we go. There's more of these, so let's get these. I'll get into attack that one. Let's start move. Oh, here we go. So that's obviously the pulse is the sonar going off. Like so. The one trick, and this is a good tip when you come to play this game, there's a time for times 25 speed in the combat view and times 1000 in the bridge view, and there's times when you want to just slow it right down and let it do its thing. Oh, that's a bug that I noticed today, so that's been fixed, but it's not fixed in the update yet, which is that for some reason the flagship sometimes decides to go in the opposite direction. He loses lock when I do a lot of breaking the formation, but that fixes it. But again, like I said, it's actually fixed in the code. It's just not been put onto the latest build. So basically now we just got to wait it out and try to do this carefully, because the worst thing is to rush in and to actually suddenly find some torpedoes coming at you. So yeah, you can zoom in quite close on the ships. They're more designed for major fleet, battles for this one. There are some quite detailed ones on the big fellas, but we can basically, these are your destroyers, obviously, but we've got so many different classes of ship. It's been hours of fun just plugging all these in, and here comes the flagship guy. And again, yeah, that's one thing I didn't mention. What you can do is rearrange the order of ships. So if I clicked on that one and dragged it upwards to the top, it would become the flagship, and all the orders would centre around that. But I'm going to come back here. So actually, if I go over here, I've got the I-73 sub. In fact, oh, there we go. He's launched torpedoes. Now they should do some manoeuvring, but I'm going to actually just do a bit myself just to make sure. Should be clear there. Basically, they can get quite sneaky. They're a bit stuck now in case until they deep dive. But these guys should be able to deal with them. In fact, there we go. They're going to try and get away, I think. Slow it down again. Yeah, that's that siren was them deep diving, but that's not to say that they're not going to come back. He's still picking something up. Just trying to get the location. Or is he behind us? Okay, yeah, there we go. And obviously one of the things you want to do is try. There it is. He's picked it up again. He's behind me. Let's do this. There we go. Let's get that guy over there. It just gets quite tactical. Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's much appreciated. Yeah, we spent a long time on this. We really wanted this one to. There was things, shortfalls obviously in the original that we wanted to sort out, and we really wanted to make something that was quite epic. And as I said, this will be, on launch you'll be having the US campaign, but then there'll be the Japanese campaign coming soon afterwards. Let's get that guy there. Oh, not that one. Coming soon, and then we're also, we've got a custom battle mode coming into it as well, and we've got the mods coming up as well. And again, as you can probably imagine, with the combats are all quite different. Sub-combat's quite a waiting game. Yeah, no, we were very conscious that we didn't want loads of torpedoes going everywhere and things like that. It's definitely one thing we wanted to do, was slow down the amount of torpedoes that would actually occur. So what I want to do is actually concentrate now. see if I can see and mark an area where I can drop some depth charges. I think so. I think the GoldenEye silence pistols sound's gone. Was that, what was that for again? That was a I can't remember what that was for actually. But yeah, no, we've been working into the sounds. Obviously, there's still. Oh, here we go. There he is. So what I can do, one thing we've done with the depth charges, because we found it really annoying, is giving the destroyers a bit more leeway with depth charges. Okay, yeah, no, we've got rid of the non-damaging. Well, no, I haven't got rid of non-damaging hits. We've got rid of that horrible sound for the non-damaging. So I'm dropping some depth charges. There we go. So that should make that surface. And in fact, I've been so busy talking, I've been losing my subs. I've been reading the things. That's what I said. It's quite a tactical waiting game with this one. Right, he's surfaced, so I'm gonna let me just take him out. There we go. There's one. I think if you're stupid enough, with regards to friendly fire, if you're stupid enough to get in line of ships, I've not really encountered your ships actually like deliberately firing on your fleet. It's more a case of like now I'm actually trying to push into this guy here. Don't want to get hit by things, so let's go to the USS Craven here. Let's start to move in. Yeah, we could have a look at planes in a minute. I don't mind showing you that. Again, it does take some more concentration, this game, obviously. So I wasn't looking at. I was too busy reading your instructions, your text to realise that I was actually getting bombed by torpedoes then as well. So let's come in and kill these guys anyway. Let's time it, speed up a bit. Let's just try to go. There we go, Sizzy. Get him. There we go. Yeah, I got some debris coming up for that one. Oh, he's close. Ah! See, that's why you want to concentrate on what you're doing. We're looking at some game balance things at the moment, and the sub-combat is always a little bit hairy. Though I usually do this, disclaimer here, I usually do this without losing my fleet. So it's definitely a concentration thing. There we go. Quite dead yet, and I've got it at a faster speed now. Yeah, with planes, it's definitely. In fact, we've seen this one now, and you've seen that unless you concentrate on what you're doing, you can lose things. So let's get out of there a minute. Let them resolve that now. So basically, yeah, you've got flights of planes, and so there's 3 to a flight. It's different for certain squadrons as well. So I could literally, while I'm in the Pacific here, I could select a squadron and tell it to go and move out or attack or defend a fleet. I could intercept fleets, that sort of thing. My destroyer of patrol is going to go and take out that one. Let's finish him off. What's that there? Laser G84. Is a supply system crucial? Like, can you upgrade ports only if they're well supplied? What about fueling ships? Yes. I mean, it's that thing. You need to start moving your units towards the goal. So basically, you know, I've been talking here and slowed it right down, but moving, you know, times 1,000 speed, trying to get your units towards the objectives, raiding. At that point, you know, I'd like to go and resupply back at Johnston. Also, obviously, if I take Making Atoll, if I decide to launch an amphibious assault on it, one of the main things I'd want to do there is obviously defend it, but then also, if let's pretend I've taken Johnston, I'd set it to a high. The priority would be high, so you'd start to get some convoy ships coming in and actually helping to supply it. And you do need to, in fact, you know, like this, we've got green circles that denote the overall how far they'll travel. So obviously, Task Force 12 here, if you look, this green circle is quite large relatively, but that will soon diminish if you go around not resupplying. So you've really got to start moving. You've got to start thinking about your front and actually moving the supplies, moving your resources forward, because you can't just say, for instance, get Task Force 8, attack Making, go over to Truck Lagoon. I mean, you'll probably get annihilated if you went near Truck Lagoon right now anyway. But you can't keep going around and hoping that you're just going to carry on. You need to keep your supplies up. You need to move those supplies forward. So let's get in, and I'll just show you. So there's my carrier. So what I could do is, if I select, you can select as many flights as you want. So these have got Devastator torpedo bombers, that sort of thing. So if I click on a few flights like this, I'm shift clicking. You can't combine squads. So if I right click on the C out here, and I'll just put defend, so they'll actually take off and start defending the fleet. So let me just obviously the Enterprise will move into the wind, and it starts to take the planes off. Are you going to add the Hedgehog anti-submarine weapon? Yes, we've got the Hedgehog anti-submarine weapon. I was firing it today, so that will be obviously coming more into the fore with the Royal Navy, things like that. Because for some that may know, because I've spoken about it before, my grandfather was on the HMS Clover, the Flower class corvette that used to obviously fire the Hedgehog, that sort of stuff. So yeah, we had to have Hedgehog weapons in there. So let's double click on our flights. So these guys here, these are your Wildcat fighters. We've put this trail. It's more so it's easier for the player to see, especially from a distance. If you've got lots of flights, it's easier to see where they are. Captain Orson saying new carrier system looks really good. Cheers for that. Yeah, we've spent a long time. We're still refining and tweaking some of the carrier systems, but we're really pleased with the way it's working. So yeah, so you can literally control the flights now, so they don't just buzz around like wasps. I can actually select this flight. I can change its altitude, so I can tell it by sliding this bar up. I can tell it to. I can actually manually drop the bombs. That sort of thing, so I can actually set where they drop the bomb. So if I'm over a port, I can set the targets, or I can let the fighters do their own thing, which is good fun. But the most satisfying thing I find about the carrier is, you know, you've got down here, select all fighter flights, select all torpedo bomber flights, select all bomber flights. So I could literally click that, right click, say at the enemy carrier, and launch, and they'll launch them at an enemy carrier. Then I could get the torpedo bombers and launch them over here at this enemy carrier. Obviously you have to use your imagination at the moment for the carriers, because they're not there. We're in the middle of the Pacific with no one. So there you go. So that's what that'll do. And what I can do as well is recall. If I go down here, I can recall all flights. So you can do it very quickly. Start to get the flights to recall back to the plane, back to the carrier. Sorry. So here's a task force. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore any combats that happen right now, unless there's something relevant, and I'm going to get this task force here to dock at Midway. Oh, here we go. That'll be more subs maybe. I think there was a few more out there, but so I'm just going to press continue like a bad Admiral I am, and actually just ignore that. So I'm going to ignore that the Pearl Harbor's spotted some, I think it's some enemy subs that are hanging around. So if I click on Midway now, I've got an airfield, and basically if I right click on it, I can build different types of plane like this. So if I click on that, I can actually build. So I've got a hangar. So if I build and put into the hangar my Catalina, so you can actually tailor what you've got. You think, you know what, I need lots of recon, or I need lots of bombers here. I'm going to start to customize what's in my hangar and what's on my runway. What I can also do is change on the runway what type of planes they're going to be as well. So if I know there's loads of subs in the area, I can load them up with make them ASW bombers, that sort of thing. I can also, if I close this down, if I click on the carrier, oh no, not that one, inside on there as well, if you look, there's my flight deck, and I can, seeing as I'm docked at Midway, I can actually build or take aircraft from Midway's hangar and put it on my flight deck if it's applicable. Again, it may not let you. It depends, because obviously there are some things that can fit on a carrier. As you can see here, there's planes here that aren't unlocked yet. How does scouting work? You can manually send a scout from a carrier on the world map. Yes, that's right. Yeah. So if I click on the carrier, this carrier is actually docked at Midway at the moment, but I can still click on the one of the planes. I could obviously I've set this up so it's lots of really devastator torpedo bombers and that sort of thing. So I could select a Wildcat fighter or multiple Wildcat fighters like that, and basically I can send them out. You could get in fact the Kingfisher spotter's already out reconning this guy here. So you basically what you could do is you could shift click and tell it to then return as well. So basically there's different things you can actually do with the planes. What was the other thing I was going to show you then? Oh yeah, so that was the other thing. So while we're in Pearl, got the subs there. We're pretending they're not happening at the moment. We're actually going to Pearl Harbor. Into the actually, let's go to the task force. We're gonna have a look at the fleet screen. So as you can see here, these are my holding icons, and we need these repaired. So once they're out of combat with the hunting the destroyers, I don't know how much they're actually doing at the moment. I think the patrol boats are actually engaged, but they're there as well. I can set the system so you can manually do it. So as you can see here is all the different systems on the ship. What I can do is I can manually set the fleet to battle stations, or I can set to repair. So I'm so they're going to go all out and start to repair things. Or I could prioritize boosting morale. Morale is relatively important in the fact that that they're more responsive. That improves accuracy, that sort of thing as well. But you can do that quite quickly by just pressing a button there, and it will change settings. Or you can manually select, say, the Pennsylvania, and think, I want more people operating the turret here, so I'll slide that up and slide it down, like so. It also tells you the amount of stores, that sort of thing. Rations on board. So, well, how many rations you can give them. Again, you can play this game without necessarily working into this, but this will obviously give you a little bit of extra control when you drill down. Jonesy66666 says, "Are the planes unlocked on the historical introduction day?" With this, we've basically done that roughly. What happens is with this one is the idea, and I've had this with people that worked on other war games, is that as soon as a player starts playing, it changes history. So basically, if you start to do well and the research goes forward, then it might change in terms of how quickly they're unlocked. Again, that doesn't mean to say that once a plane type or a ship type is unlocked, that you'll be able to afford to buy it, or you've got the industry capacity to actually build the thing, because it does take days to build things. Pegasus UK says, "Are the ships basically hit points, or do they have separate hit boxes where certain parts of the ship have damage?" No, they have got different systems, and if you look here, so you've got at the bottom, if I click on this is the carrier. It's got the bridge, fire control, engineering, and all of these can be damaged. You've got torpedo belt there, stores, propellers, so if you lose your stores, you're in trouble. Turbines. Most of these can be at least, apart from obviously stores and things, most of these can be at least semi-repaired at sea, but there is a point when you have to go back and right-click resupply at the nearest port. What I'm going to do quickly, I think we'll stop in a minute, because I think I've shown you the basics for phase 1. As I said, we'll be doing a phase 2 on Saturday, and then we'll be doing another one. I aim to do another one next week as well. So don't worry about missing out. There's just so much to show you, and I could sit here all evening. I mean, as you know, we've sat here for nearly an hour now, and I've already I've barely moved out and scratched the surface. We haven't done amphibious assaults or raids yet. But what I'll do is I will show you. Let's go to San Diego, and seeing as we've got some war bonds, we'll go to the shipyard, and we'll build some destroyers. As was pointed out earlier, in terms of unlocking historically, we've moved a few things about as well, just so that that there's some things for the player to unlock. Some various different ship types and that sort of thing. So you've got a nice spread. There's quite a few ships there that are unlocked. Obviously, there are some ships that unlock later that you've got. It's got a la Total War, where you start with a decent battleship, but you might have to unlock it to keep building them. But I'm going to start with a destroyer. It tells you here it's the Gridley. Days to build 13. It tells you all the stats for it. So if I build it, I've got war bonds, and then I've got a build queue for this one of 6. So if I build the 6 there, what you can do is also upgrade the ship. So if you've got some, this is where the reality means, some of this was actually introduced further down in the war. But again, there's a difference between it being a sim and being a fun game. So what we've done is there's a few pushes backwards and forwards, and bear in mind, one of the things we're aiming to bring out is mods. So the mods are actually going to be, you'll be able to dictate those sort of things. We're going to start with a basic mod system, and then based on player feedback, we'll work into that as we go. So you could set your own ships in terms of what ones unlock at the beginning and what ones are locked. So I'm just going to upgrade these. In fact, to run out of money. So they'll start building in San Diego and build as a fleet. But I could also build cargo ships, and they'll start going out as well. Narashi says that means you can one-shot a ship if you manage to hit an ammo supply. I Yeah, I mean, you'd obviously have to be quite lucky. I've seen some pretty devastating explosions, so it does depend. It very much does depend on ships and and how much of a lucky shot you've got, really. But let's just go in. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed that. And as I said, what we'll do is next time we'll just have a more run through. If you've got more questions, feel free to come on the Discord channel, come onto our Discord chat or onto the Steam forums, and we can discuss it more. And meanwhile, if you've got any other questions and you want to bring them up next time in Twitch, on Twitch, then please do, because we'll be here. And this isn't going to be the last one. This is the first one, as I said. So we'll be able to actually, get into some of all the combat tactics and various other things, because there's some little tricks of the trade that I like to show off in terms of the little things that I like to do with regards to formations, that sort of thing. But anyway, so that's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I shall be, like I said, 9:30 British summertime Saturday is the next one, and then we'll announce some more as we go along. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.